I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions, we all have different transitions in our life, right? I like to use the metaphor of triathlons, and I'm still doing triathlons. In fact, I have one in Chattanooga in 2 days. And the metaphor is, first in a triathlon you swim, and then you get in a transition area, and then you bicycle, then you get in a transition area again, and then you run. And that is a metaphor of what all the different changes we have in our lives, from our beginnings to our endings. And I have a wonderful guest that was a guest 2.5 years ago, and now I'm better, and the studio is better, and it is Jan Campbell. Jan Campbell is an amazing yoga teacher, an entrepreneur, one of the very first people in Nashville, Tennessee to start yoga. And so today we're going to learn about her, and she will also do some amazing poses. And not only that, but we will have show number 2 with her mentorees, her people that she's been teaching, and the skills go on and on. So Jan Campbell, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have you back.
Thank you, Becky. It's good to be back.
Yeah. I wondered, can you tell people a little bit about why you started the yoga center here? And I believe it'll be almost how many years?
30 years in November.
30 years. Tell us, when you first started here, what your struggle and how old you were when you started and what your background was before that.
Well, I started the yoga center in November of 1986 after spending 10 years in residential real estate. So you can,
I can
identify with that. And I was 53 at the time when I made that career change.
Wow.
I'm now 83. So 30 years have passed amazingly fast.
Wow.
It's been a really good transition for me to go from a high-stress profession, which real estate can be,
Amen.
to a profession that is my passion and helps me deal with stress in a lot of amazing ways. So I'm grateful.
Well, tell us about the Yoga Center and what you teach and do.
Okay. The Yoga Center is an Iyengar yoga.
And what does that mean to the public?
Okay. Iyengar was a person. He lived in India. He just died recently at the age of, I think, he was in his 90s.
Wow.
And he was an amazing teacher. He taught worldwide and was internationally acclaimed, wrote quite a few books, and was an amazing example to all of us who were privileged to study with him and with his family and with the teachers that came out of that tradition and come out of that tradition.
And you actually had lessons with the man himself?
I did. I mostly worked with his daughter, Geeta, but I did go to India on 4 different occasions and spent a month at the time studying there. So I'm blessed in that way to have known him and had some classes with him.
And there's so many forms of yoga now, hot yoga, this yoga, that yoga. Describe why you chose Iyengar and what makes it different than everybody else.
That's a really good question. Iyengar yoga is different in that it really focuses on alignment in the poses, so that when you're doing the poses, your body is well aligned, so that the chances of injuring yourself are minimized. It's also used therapeutically in many different ways for a lot of different situations. My husband, as a matter of fact, came to Iyengar Yoga because he had a couple of herniated and bulging discs, and they wanted to do back surgery and were ready to admit him to the hospital. And he began doing Iyengar Yoga, and is pain-free, has never had to have any surgery, and that's been about 30 years also.
Good heavens, what a great living example that it really...
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Some people think that if you do yoga, you will injure yourself, or, oh, I hear the excuse, oh, I have back problems, I can't do yoga.
Right.
But that's an error in their thinking.
Well, there's always a chance of injury in any kind of physical endeavor you do. However, with a skilled teacher and doing the poses mindfully and with your consciousness totally involved in the process, minimizes the chance of that injury amazingly. So we don't have a lot of injury in this particular type of yoga. I'm not saying it never happens. You know, you can get injured sitting on the sofa,
right,
practically, but it's rare.
And what other reasons why, like your husband had back problems and now he doesn't, what other medical things would people go, oh, I have this, maybe yoga might help me?
Okay. Certainly back problems are one of the things that yoga is the best at helping to alleviate. Part of back problems can stem from really tight hamstrings. So when we teach, we try to cover a lot of different areas of the body so that the person winds up being a balanced person, not only emotionally but physically, so that muscles, so that we do forward extensions which stretch the back body. We do back arches which really lengthen the front of the body. There's some twisting poses that are very cleansing for the organs of the body and help the spine also. And then there are inversions in which we go upside down, which help with circulation. They are wonderful for depression. And
depression?
Yes.
I never thought of yoga and depression.
Well, if you're feeling depressed and you walk into a room and you just go upside down and do a handstand, when you come down, your world looks different.
It literally does look different.
It literally looks different. And my feeling about that kind of work is that it also is very empowering, particularly to women, because it builds upper body strength, which we're usually somewhat deficient in unless we work at it. And that's the way it's worked in my life. So, and I think if you talk to other women who do a balanced yoga routine, they will tell you the same thing.
I think it's fascinating that almost 30 years ago when you started, nobody was doing yoga, right? Can you kind of describe?
Well, no, that's not true.
That's not true.
Yoga goes back 5,000 years. I mean, it's one of the oldest things. It was not popular in the Southeast at that time. And there was some yoga in Nashville when I started, but I don't think there was a yoga studio in Nashville 30 years ago.
And what was the church's view on that?
Well, it differed. Some churches were very receptive, and a lot of yoga classes were held in church basements. In fact, when the classes that I took were in a church. Some churches are quite fearful of the yoga because, number one, they probably had no real understanding of what it is that we do, and it was frightening.
Do they think it was a religion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think they really equated it with a religious practice. It's a philosophy more than a religion. There is a philosophy that goes along with yoga, and anybody in any religion can add a yoga practice to their routine and not be fearful of it changing their religious beliefs. At least that's
what you believe.
That's what I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It is a mind, body, spirit practice.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
And you're gonna be showing us some poses and stuff. Okay, we get the physical. Tell us about the mind and the body. How is that? And all these years you've been having waves of new people introduced to this. How has it affected them? And tell us about that.
The way that this particular yoga works, and probably many other different types of yoga that I may not be as familiar with, is that it's a mindful practice, and if you are in the present, in your practice and in a class, and it's hard not to be because the teacher is keeping you there, then your body and your mind begin to come together in a very wonderful way, so that rather than being two separate entities, they come together and they work together. And when you give the mind a task, it somehow is good for relieving stress. Because the mind wants to jump here or there, and in the future, in the past, busy mind.
Right.
But if it's given a task to focus on, then it becomes quiet. And that's just the way it works. So that's, in a nutshell, what we mean by saying yoga is a union of mind, body, and spirit. It's really the meaning of the word, because the word yog means to join. To join. So it's the very basis of a yoga practice, that joining of the body, the mind, and the spiritual life.
And because you are you are my idol, actually. You look so beautiful, and you have a quietness about you, and it just, your whole practice shows in your life. How are you conveying that to other people? And tell us a little bit about, because we're going to do a whole show on your mentors, but how are you passing this on to generations?
Well, that's the way it is passed along. It's a lineage, and it comes from this wonderful family and this wonderful teacher who now has passed the torch to his son, his daughter, and mainly a granddaughter who is now in her early 30s, who is has been taught by him and is wonderful. And so the people that go to India and study with them come back to their individual countries or states within a country and pass this along, and then new teachers develop from this teaching, and it's ongoing in that way. And I'd like to think that those of us that teach in this way pass this along, not only in the yoga room but in our lives, because it is a life-changing practice, and it's a process, and it's a path. And if you stay on the path, your life will change in a mostly wonderful way.
In a positive
way. Right.
When you're describing that, people going to India, learning, and then going to their various countries, I was just thinking, and with all the news and everything, how nice to have entities spreading peacefulness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And I remember Mr. Angar saying at one point, and I can't quote this directly, but it's something to the effect that if there is peace within each and every one of us, then there will be peace in the world. So first we have to come to peace with ourselves,
right,
before we can put that out there,
right,
and influence other people in the same way. So just think what a different world it would be if everyone worked toward that.
right. I think there was just in Nashville recently at the Titan Stadium a big yoga fest.
Right.
I don't know, maybe hundreds of yoga
I think
people.
so. I wasn't there, but I heard about it.
Yeah, and I thought that
great.
must have been a very peaceful thing in the stadium.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we really want to see you demonstrate some of the yoga poses, and we're going to have you do that and kind of explain. And it's fascinating to me to see how flexible you are, and I'm just like, so wow. I'm just floored how beautiful it is to see you do this. So we need to clear the chairs away and give you the mat and get this done. And I'll get out of the way.
Okay. So just briefly, I'll tell you, I'm going to do 3 different types of postures, just a small sample. First, I'll do a series of just a few of the standing postures that we do. So the standing postures build strength, they build stability, they build endurance, as well as flexibility. So they are the main things that we begin with in our introductory classes with our beginning students. Because the standing poses, once you get those and your body is become stronger, you're more stable, your endurance is better, and your flexibility, then you can move on to some of the other families of poses. I'll do one back bend, which is the standing poses incorporate a lot of different parts of the body, but I will do one back bend to show you how that works. And the back bends, as I said before, lengthen the front body, and then I'll do about 3 different inversions, which are very wonderful poses for beginning to let you know you're really beginning to do some yoga, and just being able to be off your feet for a while and let the heart have a rest, and to bring the energy level up is a wonderful thing. So we'll just go there today. So I'm going to begin now with and I'll go from one standing pose to the next, and we'll do just a few. There's a huge family of them. I'm not going to do all of them, but I will do just a few. All right. So this first pose is simply known as the triangle pose. And if you look at this pose, you can see that the body actually forms some triangles. It's a lateral pose in that the lengthening is of the side body. From here, I'll come into another lateral pose with the leg bent, one leg bent. One more lateral pose. This pose is the first back bending pose that we teach. You can see there's a little bit of a back bend in the upper back. From here, I'll come into a forward extension, which stretches the legs, the side body, the front body, and the back body. To keep myself balanced, I'm going to do the same set of poses on the left, to the left. Now I'll show you one back bend, and you have to remember that you're looking at an 83-year-old body. So
Which
things
is
are a
amazing.
little different from the way they were 30 years ago, but it's amazing what the body can do if you ask it to do it in a gentle, nonviolent way. So the body has to learn to trust us. And when that happens, it's amazing. So I'll do just one back bend. And now we'll shift gears and go into just a few inversions. I'm going to do the first one from the mat here, and then we'll use the wall for the next two.
Okay.
I won't hold this one very long, but just to show you, this is a pose that is generally known as a headstand or head balance. So. Now, generally, this position is held from 5 to 10 minutes, but I don't want to bore you, so we'll go to the next one. So I'm going to take my mat now to the wall.
And we have just a few minutes, so we're delighted to see you do this on the wall.
So eventually, this can be done in the center of the room, balancing away from the wall. And I'm not going to have students that can do that with ease. And the last one. Sorry. Just I'm going to use another couple of what we call props, which are helpful in this one. So this is called a forearm balance. So I'm actually using my forearms as a base, rather the way we use our feet and legs as the base in standing poses. And this is also a balance, so I'll come away from the wall just a little bit to show you that. Now that's a small sample of the range of yoga poses that we do. And hopefully that'll give you some idea of the possibilities and of the way to begin to work in a yoga practice so that you don't injure yourself and you can continue to progress and do yoga well into your 90s. Okay, right. Becky?
Well, Jan Campbell, you are a total inspiration, and I'm just amazed, and I love seeing you and do this, and it would be wonderful that others nationwide actually can see you do this, and for posterity, actually. This is just fabulous.
Thank you for doing this, Becky.
Yes, and we will have show number 2 also, so we'll be featuring her too. And it seems like all the yoga sessions I've ever been to, you end with namaste. What does that mean?
Well, it's simply said, it's, you might say, I honor the divine within you, and that's about what it is. So that we are in the yoga philosophy all divine creatures, and each of us carries a little bit of God within us, and this is just an honoring of that with one another.
Wow. Well, namaste.
Namaste, Becky.
Namaste, the world here. And this is the end. Transitions, body, mind, spirit. Thank you, Jan Campbell,
Thank you,
Yoga
Becky.
Center. Thank you.